Greetings, fellow Gothamites. Tiki here.
And Bluedragonfive. Over 10 years ago, as the Dark Knight changed things forever, we lost the actor who made it happen. Heath Ledger delivered the ultimate performance that left us eternally wanting more. While we all thought we saw the last of his betrayal as the Clown Prince of Crime, two men unearthed amazing footage of what he might have done next.
The job falls to us to comb over the files and documented exploits of Patient 4479 in this ultimate tribute to the role of a lifetime. Let's start today's session with Axes and Allies. All right, Dragon. All right. I watched this episode twice over. I gotta say, it's definitely got some highlight moments. Obviously, two major deaths happened this episode. One a little bit more shocking as far as like the actual DC continuity goes. One obviously a bit more emotional, like we have some emotional stakes in this character. Kind of a shocking death in that regard. I gotta tell you though, Dragon, outside of those two big moments in this episode, I'm not really feeling this one as much. I honestly think part of it might be just because we just got not only like a found footage episode, but like a found footage episode that might be one of the best uses of the found footage medium I've ever seen. And so to go back to this, make no mistake, it's not bad filmmaking at all, but it's a little bit more traditional. I don't know. I felt a little bit of that kind of like stylistic whiplash a little bit. And also, Dragon, I think probably the bigger issue I have with this episode is that it, in spite of some big events happening, it does feel like a little bit of a stepping stone, kind of like, chess piece moving into place kind of episode where big things do happen, but it's kind of setting up for, the bigger things. Like, obviously, what happens at the end of the episode is a big kind of like status quo shift for sure.
Mm-hmm.
That I'm sure will have major ramifications going forward. Dragon, honestly, I'm still along for the ride, of course, but I've got to admit, having so many characters on the table, like I'm not really feeling Phantasm in all of this. Like, I know she's a big fan favorite character, and it's cool to see it represented in live action. Don't get me wrong. I just don't really think she feels all that connected to the rest of the story per se. And honestly, I hate to say it, but the Joker himself kind of feels a little bit overshadowed. Like, I feel like even though he had less screen time in the past episode, that one moment that he did have on the stairwell was super memorable. And it's not like he didn't have memorable bits in this episode. Of course, we do have the opening scene, which is memorable, but I don't know, man. I just kind of feel like the Joker himself is kind of being a little bit like lost in the shuffle of his own show at this point. I kind of feel like we're maybe kind of throwing maybe one too many balls in the air as far as juggling all this DC continuity. Like I said, I'm still very much along for the ride, and definitely excited to see where things go from here, especially given the status quo shift. But yeah, I do think that this was probably out of the new season. This might have been the one that I was feeling the least. I'll put it that way. So that's kind of where I'm at on it personally.
Okay. All right, so a little context here. So yeah, this is for sure a game changer episode in terms of like some major stuff happens. We kind of reveal this episode really tees up what at least let's say part one of two, to put it in a cheeky way. This reveals what Doctor Arkham's endgame is. Basically what it lays it out. We're going to see how exactly he intends on kind of fulfilling this more so down the line. But basically we set up what Dr. Arkham's like his crazy plan is for why he's doing all this and why all of it's happening on this day and all that. So pieces are moving on the board for sure. And our things are Tiki. The thing is, this episode things are starting to cross over. That's the big thing. So I mean, Joker, we are still assembling the makeup. That's kind of the arc we're doing right now. So we're like part 2 of 3 right now with the Joker. with
Okay.
because we see, as we'll get into it, we're said
Mhm.
Joker is around, and he is kind of framing the events about what's going on, as we'll get into with this episode. But yeah, he's season two, as we've established, is very much again, it's essentially the surname of the season is One Bad Day. And with that, it's like we're seeing the ramifications of everything Joker did in the first season.
Sure, sure.
So in looking at that, that's why he is kind of more of he's taken a back seat, but his presence is felt in how these characters are acting this season for sure. And he's definitely going to have a major impact when he does officially, like, fully enter our story. I won't tell you how. When he fully enters the story, it's a big moment.
Okay, okay, that's cool. That's cool. That's good to
Anyway,
know that they're building to it.
so speaking of Joker kind of framing the events, I believe this was set up at the tail end of Further Evidence, and we see it pay off in this episode with the whole rich man poor man confrontation. That's our big payoff here with Dr. Arkham and Lex Luthor having their big scene. Been kind of hyped up there. This episode does kind of explore that continually, that backdoor pilot that we kind of had in Further Evidence of the adventures of Dr. Thomas Elliot. Yep. I mean, I don't know if I'd call it, self-aggrandizing, the fact that our title actor has found yet another role for himself. I don't know if I'd go that far, but it's just
Right, right.
kind of funny when you think about it. It's like, if there were a backdoor pilot for a show and you needed Tommy Elliott, well, we got another guy. And if you're wondering if his credentials match, well, look who else he played. All right. So, lastly, just something to note, and this is going to be kind of important. Not right now, but just file it away. I mean, right now we're on a monthly schedule at this point with not you and I, but just basically when these were coming out back then.
Sure, sure.
They were on a monthly schedule at this juncture for season two, and this is going into 2014. So again, when they started things, we were kind of on the wire of Dark Knight Rises coming out. But again, things take time, and with the monthly schedule, it's like we've kind of drifted over. Time has passed, and we're in kind of 2014. So Rises come out, we're still filling the niche between between the Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises within that 8 year gap. And we're not far along in the 8 years. We're roughly about 1 to 2 years within the 8 years at this juncture.
Uh-huh.
But anyway, so that's all you need to know. I think you're all caught up. I think let's break it down.
Okie dokie. So we start with the episode, in my opinion, I don't even know if this is a plus or a negative. It just kind of begins like very, very abruptly with, like boom, someone's being chased.
Yeah, so Joker is again, Joker is exacting his revenge on these guards that beat him up, and again, it's a classic Joker thing to do. So the fact that he's doing it so menacingly, I love the way the cinematography in this episode is really good. I mean, it's always been pretty good, but I mean, this episode, I love that this opening is pretty much, with the exception of the Joker, he's like the only color element in this scene. Everything else is in black and white, but not like, it doesn't feel like, I mean, surely there might be a filter on there because we do when the camera comes into play. There's the shoddy, beat up camera look to it. But
Uh-huh.
there is a question of like it's kind of like we've achieved black and white without truly like putting like a Better Call Saul gene filter on it.
Sure, sure. Yeah, yeah, that's a good way to put it.
So it's a Joker. He's going after these the guards that brutalized them. We have like him armed with the walkie-talkie from last time they picked up in the locker room, and he's doing. And this is really great. He's doing the Jack Torrance thing from, which of course feeds into a little bit of the Jack Nicholson of it all with the Joker. Here's like little pigs, little pigs. As this guy's terrified, hiding in his feet are up in the stall and everything. He's praying for dear life. The Joker's not going to get in there. Of course he does, and he grabs an axe.
Oh God!
From like the fire, like little like fire suppression little thing that you have, like little hose and everything, little axe.
So this is a very creative kill, man. He's just like, first of all, I'm sorry. Remind me what I know he does the big bad wolf thing, the whole like I'll huff and I'll puff, but then like remind me what noise he makes when he's like.
Well, no, on the walkie-talkie, he's just doing the little pigs monologue from The Shining, and then because he has the axe, he's just dragging it over
Okay,
the
okay.
floor. And he hosts it up, blow your house down, and bam! When he hits it that second time. Well, it's like pretty much the second time this guy is just like he's dead.
Yeah, that's a very creative death. Just like death via axe through a bathroom door.
Yeah, not even like the door fully came down. It's like just once the guy was, you saw him pressing his body against that
Right,
thing, not
exactly,
knowing that
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
not fully knowing he had an axe or not really knowing what to do, and just like bam, boy. So we use again. So now we're using they're painting I like the detail that the bathroom was under construction because of the whole like Arkham getting a facelift idea. So the fact that we had like this open can of paint, so there we go. The next part of like the 3-part kind of makeup process for the Joker here. Well, he's found his face paint.
Mhm.
Yep, we're building to the return. So again, with this return, we have a lesson he's expositing in 3 parts to the camera here. So let's see. So we had uncertainty last time, I believe, and here we have gambling. Which again we're building to a certain coin this episode, as you probably guessed.
Yep, yep.
And again, the Joker is kind of hyping that up here with the whole gambling thing about essentially deep down people are scared of change. Gambling, they're scared of change. And I love what this monologue does, because fundamentally the truth of the Joker and Batman's relationship, either in the Nolan films or just in general broadly, any way you slice it, fundamentally the Joker challenges Batman to change versus rinse and repeat. That's why the Joker's always trying to poise Batman in a position to end the cycle and kill him, because he wants him to change, and Batman simply will not change. So fundamentally, it's about that. And Joker
Mhm.
kind of rolling the dice sometimes in the reckless, horrible things he does, like kill a Robin or try to blow up a boat full of people. So, of course, I gamble with lots. The mob, Harvey Dent, this place.
Then he just starts
Security.
going into this whole monologue about the Titanic, which is
I love
great.
that. That's great. You 3 guards, you gamble with your
I mean,
lives.
this feels straight out of Dark Knight, man. This totally feels like a Dark Knight monologue.
It's the writing at its finest here.
Uh-huh.
The idea. Long story short, the Titanic, the fact that the guy who basically the guy who set sail on who basically organized the Titanic, he was so egotistical. The fact that the guy had such an ego, not even God could sink this ship, and he didn't put enough lifeboats on board. As I said, he gambled with 1,500 lives. I mean, 700 lived, but
I
more
love
so
that logic. I love the logic of like, well, 700 live, so I guess it's not that bad.
1,500 people died, 700 people lived.
Tomato, tomato.
Moral, and of course, this puts a fun little like spin on it at the end. Moral of the story: you can never have enough ice. You can never bring enough ice to a party.
Oh God.
So, and I love this. And this is great. This Joker, like he's like knocking on the door. I didn't lose you, did I? Is there anything you wanted to ask me? And of course,
I
that's
love
where I
that
should have.
that pause.
That realization is the realization. That's where I should have killed you. Oh well.
Right. That was great.
I'm gonna have to kill someone else. Just great Joker logic at its finest. Like, well, I gotta kill someone on the punchline. We're gonna do it again. All right, so Roman Sionis, he's in a stairwell. He's running for his life. We have the cuts on his face, so we're setting up why this guy be wearing a mask all the time. Phantasm pursueth, and we're of course we're coining the famous "Your angel of death awaits."
Oh yeah.
So Sionis here, he's begging for his life. And again, I like that you can see through Sionis here a little bit of like, back in the day, when people heard Joseph Gordon-Levitt was announced for the movie, a lot of people thought he was going to play this character. A lot of people thought he was going to play Roman Sionis.
Mm-hmm.
So again, this guy does have kind of a Levitt kind of quality about him if you look at him. I don't know, a little bit. He's a young buck. I don't know. Anyway, so he's begging for his life, and then he says, like, look, I'm all talk. I never. He says he's not really a trigger man. He hasn't really, like killed anyone really.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Dragon. We have to address. I don't think you addressed it. Or if you did, I'm sorry.
Oh, the shot of the transition with the hallway. Oh, but
no. I was going to say Joker putting on the makeup.
Well, I said he had like the can of paint in there too.
Okay, I just want to address that. I think it's really cool that it's just a very unique. Like, when do you ever see the Joker, with just the white and not the red? You know what I mean?
There's only one other time I think we've ever seen that.
Very striking visual. Very striking visual.
Yeah, the Joaquin Phoenix Joker movie.
Right. I think in some ways it might be even more creepy than just having the red.
No, for sure. Yeah.
It almost looks like he has like a mannequin face or something.
I mean, a little bit. I mean, in this case, for sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, anyway, Sionis.
Yes.
Yes, so he says,
Sorry about that. I know you brought it up. I just wanted to address it. I realized I hadn't talked about it at all. Go ahead.
Gotcha. Okay, so anyway, so he says he's not like he's not really a full on gunsel. He's just more. He's the rat of the mob. He's the guy who like he digs dirt on people. That's really what he does. So he's saying, no, I didn't kill anyone. He says Joanna Beaumont, which is Carl Beaumont's wife. So he's just
I love at this point he just automatically assumes that it's Carl under the mask.
Yes, which again, so far, I mean, let's just say, I mean, Andrea, she was in the room when all this happened, the Phantasm.
One could say she was in the room where it happened, Dragon.
Oh, come on!
I'm sorry. You set me up for that. You set me up for that.
Now I just want to write a whole bunch of angry letters to Lin-Manuel
Oh my God.
You ruined all my conversations, Lin! Why, Lin?
At least when I don't do the stupid like what is a legacy thing every time the word legacy gets brought up anymore.
Anyway. The fact is, the guy is making a reasonable assumption this is Carl Beaumont, which I like. And we don't fully know. Let's just say at this point we don't fully know that's Carl Beaumont or not. Anyway, so he claims, Simons claims, like it was all Thorne told him to do that. Basically, it was under Thorne's orders to kill Joanna Beaumont. He just he told him time and place. He's the gunsel. Basically, he's just like the weasel of the mobsters here. It's just like kind of like they're kind of going for parallels from Mask of the Phantasm to Arthur Reeves. Arthur Reeves ratted Carl Beaumont out to the mob. He sold sold him to the mob, to quote the great Kevin Conroy. Anyway, yes, the point being he's begging for his life, and then he's making the point, like, I had a wife and daughter, which, of course, would elicit sympathy from a Carl Beaumont, who does have a surviving daughter, in Andrea Beaumont. So, yes, you'll live to see your daughter, but you'll be marked a coward. And you're a coward and you'll be marked as one. Then we kind of have this really cool show. We kind of shift between like hallways or something, like like little slim kind of slits of the hallways, and we just hear like the arm blade comes out, which is a nice little update on the scythe. The Phantasm tradition has like this blade on the other arm.
Yeah.
So the fact that we kind of found a practical way of doing that is kind of cool. So basically off screen, it's like he's just carving into his face, and it's like, oh, how awful. Meanwhile, Tommy Elliot.
Yeah, the Tommy Elliot show.
Yes, so Tommy Elliot.
It's like a spin-off within a prequel, or I'm sorry, a spin-off within a sequel, much like much like Mando in the Book of Boba Fett.
Sure.
That's a really bad analogy. I apologize.
Yeah,
That's a terrible analogy. I call that right now. I'm calling my own bullshit on that. All right, go ahead. Anyways,
Tommy Elliot, he's plotting an escape right now. He's in a desperate situation. Just to recap briefly, because it's been a while. So again, he and Commissioner Gordon's wife, or at this point, it's unclear if she's the ex-wife at this point. Their marriage is on the rocks. It's all the point being Barbara Senior. He and Barbara Senior, have been captured. Barbara Senior is mainly being used as a hostage, but she is also I think a head nurse, so she'd be useful to Tommy Elliot in this situation where Arkham wants him to perform a miracle life-saving surgery on the charred and days are numbered Lisa Arkham. So it's not going to go well. And basically, they're in a dire situation there. And last we left it, Selena Kyle was brought in as the main donor for any organs or blood and tissue they're going to need to save Lisa Arkham's life. So
now I got to admit, Dragon, I realized that like Dark Knight Rises hadn't come out yet, but I don't know, man. Selena Kyle just feels a little bit shoehorned in here. I feel like out of everything that they're kind of like playing around with as far as using the DC stuff, like I feel like this could have just been anyone. It could have been like Summer Gleason or anyone, like, I don't know. I don't know why it has to be Selena Kyle.
Well, I mean, we can't use Summer because we're doing camera stuff with her.
That's true. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I don't necessarily know why it has to be like a, like someone is pivotal. Like, I just feel like Selena's kind of being wasted in this role a little bit.
Well, to be fair, two things. Okay, one, again, further evidence we used her extremely well as getting Tommy Elliot into Dr. Arkham's possession, like her doing her thing there, which made sense for her to be introduced in the first place. In this case, at the end, you do see she will be pivotal for an escape attempt here. So I don't know. I think there's enough justification for it to be there, but mainly in the first part than the second part. I won't lie.
Sure.
So
Okay.
I think there's
And
enough
it's,
there.
I got to admit, my details are a little bit fuzzy on how it on the first part. It's been a long time, so
Yeah, well, basically, Arkham
uh-huh.
hired her to drug Tommy Elliot during his play while he's doing his imitation of Bruce Wayne being a playboy. And yeah, she basically knocked him out, put him in the trunk of the car, and brought him to Doctor Arkham.
Right. Okay, got
And
it.
then the screw you was that Doctor Arkham needed her, to basically be the unwilling donor for his wife. So she basically got kidnapped as well, and then brought to our doctors here.
All right.
Okay, so Barbara's asking what their move is here because she's very much probably doesn't want to do the unethical. We can't do this. This is insane. This is insane. We can't do this. So Tommy Elliott, one, he's ticked off at Selena Kyle for drugging him, putting him in this situation. Two, the guy's got a little crazy in him because again, there's that insane jealousy of Bruce Wayne under the
Yeah, it's a little
surface.
bit. It's really interesting how Tommy Elliott is definitely like the protagonist of this storyline, and yet it kind of feels like we're still sort of watching like a villain origin story to a
Yeah,
certain degree.
that's the thing. That's the fascinating thing about how we play Tommy Elliott here, in that he is likable. He is a good protagonist, but there is a darkness there, and there is something that's really like there's something intimidating about this guy. This guy's
Mhm.
willing to make these ethical compromises a little easily, but you can't fault him for it because again, he's anti-hero fodder, and go we love anti-hero fodder. You know,
Sure.
we do. We got we've gotten 12 seasons out of it. Roughly, a little more like, what I mean, like 11 and a half. But the point being, 12 seasons.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's see. So, Dr. Arkham then brings. So we learned that Selene Kyle is not a tissue match, and we also have this gag where Barbara and Selene Kyle are becoming gal pals and they're bonding. We're just ticking Tommy Elliott off here. Fact, okay, enough of this buddy stuff. I'm gonna have to cut into somebody if we don't come up with a solution here.
Oh,
Doctor Arkham
God.
enters, and then all the laughs dissipate.
Yeah, okay, and I just gotta say, Dragon, like freaking again, I'm sorry, I'm blanking on the name of the guy playing Arkham, but
Steve Maloney,
yeah, Maloney, he's just stealing the show, man.
right?
I mean, I like he's stealing the show from the Joker at this point.
Oh,
And
for
I
sure.
don't even say that in a bad way. I mean, it's clearly like this is clearly his story at
It's
this
his
point.
season for sure. No
Uh-huh.
question. Yeah, it's Doctor
And
Arkham.
it's really, really interesting. And like you said, I love how just like as soon as he enters a room, you just tense up.
So this is really twisted. What happens here? So Doctor Arkham brings them Pearl. Pearl's the nurse who was
Oh,
remember.
poor Pearl Dragon. This poor woman. This poor woman Dragon.
Yep, and someone could play like and
I mean, it's
Pearl.
just like she has been through arguably more than any other character in this show, only to have such an unceremonious death.
The thing about Pearl. So one, I'm always entertained in a dark way by the fact that the only reason she was on the Joker's radar is because of that very small, very slight, where she basically all she did was interrupt it, but she took Harleen away from him as far as he saw him.
Right.
It's like, hey, your fiance's here. It's like, oh, wrong thing.
Just doing
Pearl.
that just initiated the whole Kill Bill like
I mean, it's a way of looking at it, sure. Yeah, pretty much, yeah. So essentially, that's what put her in. I love that they put her in the trunk of the car. This car reminds me of an oyster. You know
Oh.
why? Because inside every oyster is a pearl. Shut up, Pearl. Anyway, so yeah, so Pearl is being, and again, it's just at a point where she had gotten over her trauma too. Like she and Harleen were like working past it. They were kind of like friends at arms and everything. So the
Right.
fact is, Dr. Arkham, Pearl, and Lyle were the three hostages. So Dr. Arkham was with Pearl during this whole ordeal.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
he's holding her at gunpoint here. I love how Tommy Elliott's trying to calm her down. See, Tommy Elliott's fundamentally a good guy. He is following the influence of the Waynes.
Yeah, again, Dragon, he is like you said, there is an air of kind of like danger to him a little bit, but he is a damn likable guy in this particular
Because
situation.
again, he is trying to live up to the Wayne family, which are good people. He's trying to live up to them. There was mentors, his idols, and everything. So again, there is fundamentally a good influence there.
Sure.
Anyway, so Dr. Arkham's asking, is she a match? And he says they tell him the bad news, which is no. And then there's this horribly dark thing where he says like it's gonna be okay. Pearl says, don't make promises like that, Doctor.
Oh man.
Anyway, so bam, shoots her in the head. Pearl is dead.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's like this character, like really, I feel like this character has kind of become one of the highlights of the whole show. And so, yeah, this is definitely like for me the biggest. I honestly think this moment plays a little bit bigger than the Lex Luthor thing, even though the Lex Luthor thing is obviously way more of a status quo shift.
Right. Well,
And I'm not saying the Lex Luthor thing is bad by any means. Don't get me wrong. That's shocking as well. I'm just saying, like from an emotional level, this is a gut punch.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, you have to wonder why Arkham did this because again, he was with her throughout all that. But you have to imagine, I mean, it's dark because again, he knew Pearl and they were both victims of the Joker. But it's the fact that it's slim pickings right now, and it's a time sensitive matter. And I think Arkham is just again, he's become more Joker like than he'd like to admit here. Again, he's following that influence. He's like, oh well, she was there. Okay. So, big reveal. This episode is chock full of reveals, kids. Matches Malone is still alive, but you're probably wondering why he's alive. And there's a very simple 2-word answer for that. Oh, sorry, 3-word answer for that, I guess. So he removes the knife from his back and he's walking down a hallway and we pull like a little kind of a Nostradamus kind of nod to Daredevil, one could say, a little hallway prison fight going on here. Matches Malone is kicking the crap out of 2 inmates, one with a ski mask, and bam, 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 we're playing some familiar music. Flesh, and you know what's going on at this point. Flesh mask drops to the floor, ski mask gets put on, we reveal he's got body armor on and the utility belt. Oh my lordy! Batman has entered the building. The answer to how Matches Malone's alive because he's Batman. Seriously, I was sitting on this one, Digga. How'd you feel about this reveal?
No, it was great. It was great. I mean, I love how it's it's just a very slow kind of like reveal. It's like, okay, wait, what is this guy up to? Wait, what? He's putting on a mask? Oh my god! And I love how the score like is the big giveaway, like the score kind of pumps in right before you see, right before you really finalize what's going on. So it kind of like hints to you like, oh, wait, no. Okay. It's him.
And it's also really nice too, where there's a lot of nods to the Nolan films going on in this sequence. Aside from the score, you have the fact that he's kind of taken out kind of guys effortlessly, just walking kind of like down a hallway like he did in The Dark Knight when Bruce Wayne was about to slip out to the party scene. Remember, he's like, "Where are you going, rich boy?" And he's like, bam, bam, he's gonna walk down the hallway. And we also just the fact that he's kind of doing stuff as the ski mask vigilante, nod to the proto Batman and Batman Begins, the ski mask vigilante era of Batman, which also inspired by Phantasm. I'm still convinced.
Right.
No one had good taste. That's all I'm saying. And then also again, kind of a nod to Dark Knight Rises, which at this point in production, they might have been able to watch at this juncture. They probably did. And you have like Bruce Wayne returning to the hospital to visit Gordon wearing the ski mask like he did when he first met him. Okay, so and also to parallel the Joker in our story right now, let's just say we are building to the full reveal of the Batman. So
okay,
we're getting more of the suit.
That's interesting. That's interesting. Yeah, you're right. It is interesting how we're having kind of like both him and the Joker kind of like throughout this episode. It's like I don't know. I think the Joker even more so. It's just a very, very fascinating kind of like build of just like putting his outfit together piece by piece. I really like it.
Oh yeah, for sure. Okay, so then we get to let's see. So then we have Arkham is being told that Lex is in the office. So Tommy Elliot, he memorizes the code as he's putting his phone back in his pocket there. He says he's about to waste Selena Kyle. He says no, we need Selena Kyle because she's O negative. Basically, kind of securing her because he has a plan for her to help steal the phone back.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, no, if we need him, basically, I think they're kind of pulling a little bit of a Sub-Zero reference here. The fact that, the whole Mr. Freeze needing an organ transplant from North.
Oh, no, absolutely. That's absolutely the vibe I get.
I think we mentioned this earlier, but just in case we didn't, I do think there's a lot of Sub-Zero in our plot, which is a nice pull, and the whole O negative thing does kind of.
Well, it's cool that they're kind of like doing Sub-Zero without actually, just making it a rehash.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's what I'm
I
saying.
feel like that's something that Nolan would do,
Yeah.
take a comic storyline, but kind of like tweak it.
For sure. I mean, we saw him do that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so let's see. So then we have Dr. Arkham suggesting start with the heart, which is a foreshadow and a runner, by the way. Of course, the runner is that Hush is always obsessed with cutting people's hearts out, specifically Selena Kyle's heart. In the comics, he cut out Selena Kyle's heart.
Oh, really? That's funny.
Just the screw Batman over. Just like the really like, I hate you, Bruce Wayne. I'm gonna cut out the woman you love's heart.
Right.
I love that we're playing the Catwoman theme again. Being post rises when this comes out in the production, like we're able to actually use the Hans Zimmer Catwoman theme, which is nice. Basically, them striking a little deal there. They know Mrs. Arkham can't survive the operation, but they don't necessarily need her to. They just need to buy time.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to see how that pays off. Meanwhile, okay, so we're in Dr. Arkham's office here. And we see the Jokerized picture of his wife, which is a twisted detail that I love. That Joker kept stealing the picture of his wife.
Right, totally.
And the fact that Arkham went as far as to put it in a frame.
We just keep seeing it too. It's kind of like a reoccurring image in the episode.
So we have the whole rich man, poor man runner here of we have like the affluent music playing in Dr. Arkham's office. As we see Lex Luthor dealing with the very incompetent, but still menacing lockup. Lockup's there. Just Luthor trying to wheel and deal.
Yeah, I got to admit, Dragon, I don't know. I had so much fun with the Michael Chiklis version of this character. It's hard to compare.
Well, yeah, well, I don't know. Sorry. Chiklis wasn't Lockup, but he had similarities to Lockup, so
Well, wasn't he like essentially Lockup though? Like as close as they could get to him. Wasn't that the idea? I know you threw that name around when it came to him.
It's kind of like he was kind of a combination of Lockup, and you remember when Two-Face became the judge in the
Yeah, I know there's the judge thing too.
He's basically a combination of the judge and Lockup, so yeah, you're not wrong.
Uh-huh.
But I'm saying we literally had a Lockup in the animated series. It's like, honestly, that's the only time we've ever seen Lockup really adapted. But anyway, you're right, though. There's a bit of a Chiklis thing going on there. But regardless, so yes, you're saying Lockup's not really quite doing it for you.
Well, no, I'm just saying that Michael Chiklis was a lot more fun. That's all I'm saying.
Sure.
The whole guilty runner and everything.
Okay, so Luthor is dealing with it. I like how he played kind of like Lex Luthor dealing with Otis from the Donner Superman movies. So it's kind of like Lex Luthor dealing with kind of like a lumbering idiot.
Uh-huh.
So here's just saying, like, he's trying to bribe his way out of the situation with Lyle Bolton here. But again, it's a question of, like, is it because he's too crazy or he's too stupid? So it's the whole thing of, like, how much would it take for you to kill your boss? This isn't about money. This is about justice. Well, I know that, yes. But, like, how much really? It's like, like, okay, let me ask this. How much to kill yourself? It's like, what? So anyway, so this is interrupted by Dr. Arkham re-entering and telling him to retrieve the patient, which links up ultimately to what we saw Jack Ryder trying to get footage of at the end of the found footage episode. Remember, the guy's brought into the office, and that's what Lyle was doing up to that point.
Uh-huh.
All right, so, and also he tells him, go kill that news crew as well. So let's just say that's going to be immediate setup for where we're going next. Like, go kill that news crew.
Sure.
Okay, so Lex Luthor and Jeremiah Arkham. This is our big thing we've been building to for a lot of episodes here. Rich man, poor man, they're finally in the same room together. And then they actually call it as the first time they've actually had a proper sit down and actually met each other. So I like the misdirect here of, hey, go to level 2 and get the prisoner. Now he thinks that's the Joker. So getting the clown, that's a good move, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How wrong he's going to be.
Oh boy.
So it's their first official meeting, and he says, like, oh, if I had
known... Their first and last.
Yeah.
Their only meeting.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Anyway.
That's funny because I kept saying like, oh, the ending of this episode is such a big status quo shift. I'm sorry if I was mistaken.
No, I didn't want to outright say anything. But
all right, that's fair enough. I feel silly now, but okay.
I mean, we were all taking when it happened. We were all in the same boat.
Of course, yeah.
So you're not wrong.
I fell for it, hook, line, and sinker.
You're not wrong for thinking that, my friend. The point being is if Lex is giving him like the BS line, oh, if I had known known what was going to happen. It's like, okay, you can cut the Politico here. I wasn't going to vote for you anyway.
Right.
So
That
this is
feels like
great.
a very Succession style piece of dialogue right there.
It kind of does, yeah. Now you mention it, yeah. So we go full circle. It feels like something Roman would say. I buy it.
Mhm.
Anyway, so we go full circle here with the whole none of this will hold up in court thing with the whole basically him wanting Lex to sign documents after everything Lex Luthor did behind the scenes in the first season was for Dr. Arkham to sign over the hospital. So it's come full circle here, which I thought was really cool in our writing and our planning here for what Arkham was trying to get at.
Mhm.
Basically, he wants Lex to sign documents that he knows for a fact will not hold up in court. And that's the cruelest thing about all this here. The fact that, as Lex points out, if you took this to court, you actually would have won, but never in time. I would have bled you dry with money until you ran out, and I was just done with it. It's wonderful writing on how that's the Lex Luthor I can get behind. That's a cruel, business savvy Lex Luthor.
Mhm.
So we point out a clause in the contract: is if the facility is not being used to treat patients or practice medicine, it reverts back to the Arkham estate, and he can buy it for $1, which is I'd buy that for $1. Buy it for
Oh
$1, and
God.
specifically a coin, a silver dollar. Building
So,
some
Dragon,
intrigue.
let me ask you this, all right?
Yeah.
And feel free to tell me if like this is like giving too much away by you answering this, but like is what we're building essentially Jeremiah Arkham being this show's Two-Face with the coin?
No.
Not really? Okay.
Not
Okay.
really. I don't know.
Because the coin did obviously, whenever a coin in Batman is brought into the picture, I always think Two-Face, of course.
I
So
mean, I think there are parallels to Two Face.
sure,
Just the
sure.
fact of, like, he was an esteemed kind of guy who then, kind of the Joker then corrupted him much. There's a similar path to Harvey Dent. Again, the whole thing we do with Harvey Dent in The Dark Knight is one bad day, and we've kind of done it here, but a more extended, like season long arc version of it.
Uh-huh.
I mean, so in a sense, but not. He's not like actually, going to be, or he's not directly going to be a Two-Face figure. Like he's not.
Well, I mean, I figured he wasn't actually gonna get like, like the face fucked up and everything like
No, I
that.
know
But
that. I'm just saying in terms of like if he's going to decide things by a coin.
sure. Okay, got it.
He's not
All
going to go.
right.
He's not going to adopt the same
He's
ideology.
not gonna like go all Anton Sugar on us.
No. I mean, in other ways, but not that way.
Wouldn't it be great if the origin story of Anton Sugar is just that he's a really big Two-Face fanboy?
I mean, I'd like that.
All right, anyways.
I don't think that'd really be welcome in that movie, but I'd like that.
When I was a little boy, I had one comfort, and that was Batman comics.
Okay, anyway.
All right, anyways.
Okay, so this is the thing that kind of what you were saying earlier here. So the main purpose behind the Phantasm, which does nicely cross into our story here, is like, well, even if I sign this, the Arkham board's not just going to disappear. And then we set up that Arkham brought Andrea Beaumont there and essentially led the Phantasm to that meeting room to do away with the Arkham board. So basically Arkham would have no one standing in his way right now. So
I mean, that is clever. That's clever.
So again, Arkham is using revenge as a tool here, which again is kind of like, it's kind of the revenge in the aftermath kind of aspect of the season. Revenge. Anyway, so again, it's quite ingenious that the Joker reduced Arkham to employing his methods from season one entirely, in which basically Joker
It's
did
very much the same sort of philosophy as he used on Harvey Dent, the whole bringing him down to our level thing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But in addition to that, I just love that literally, like, Joker did everything he did to just get him to sign some papers. So everything Arkham's doing is just to get Lex to sign papers, but again, doing it exactly the way Joker would have done it, because again, there's just he's not going through the system. The system failed him at every turn.
Sure.
So yeah, he's absolutely been brought down to the level. So Lex reveals why he bought Arkham, which again, this this lines up pretty close to what the reason he did in the comics, because Luthor was looking for like a win so he could get elected president, which he did. He fixed Gotham after No Man's Land. Obviously, the way Christopher Nolan approached things, that'd be kind of impossible timeline wise to do No Man's Land and then Lex here. But the point being, Lex bought Arkham to give Gotham a facelift, which is it's going to bite him in the end. Ultimately, that turn of phrase, let's say.
Oh God. Oh no.
It's good. It's a good foreshadow. I like that.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, so he says, to make the house safe and a shiny city, I can make Gotham. Basically, I can turn Gotham into a safe and shining city. And it was, of course, and also on the side to facilitate his criminal endeavors. Like, I'd have a prison full of options if I ever need dirty work done.
Mm-hmm.
Quite clever. But the moment I stepped inside this building, I've been embarrassed, I've been harassed, I've been threatened, I've been verbally abused, I've been chased, I've been bitten, I've been shot at. Like, no amount of dry cleaning is ever going to make this Armani suit presentable again. Which is a good line. Again, Paul Vanasek, man. Again, Paul Vanasek, just to refresh you, Tiki, Hugo Strange from the first season.
Sure, right.
Again, such great range here as essentially a Kingpin-esque Lex Luthor,
No, and you know me, Dragon. I really fell for this version. Like when Lex Luthor was first introduced, I was a little bit skeptical. I was like, yeah, I don't know about Nolan Batman going into like the broader realms of DC. But last episode, man, this guy's comic timing, it just sold me on him. He's a great Luthor.
Agreed. So yeah, I just love that Lex here is just the string of really good Lex dialogue here is just laying out all that.
This is just a really good back and forth, man. It's just a really well written dialogue exchange for sure.
It gets even better with the whole I want my assistant, I want my helicopter, and I want a massage. He just signs. You want your hospital back? He instantly signs it over without any moment of compunction. You can have it back. and he extends the hand. And I love what I love, first of all, the coin work on Maloney's really good here. He's like doing that little coin trick, like he moves the fingers and the coin does like a little flip there. I can't do that. So this is where things get really great in the dialogue, back and forth between them. He calls Luthor out, and just calling Lex Luthor out to a T here, just saying it's never that easy. He knows exactly what Lex is going to do to him. Like, there are no survivors.
Come on, Lex. You and I both know you can't just walk out of here. What are you doing?
Yep, the moment you leave, you're going to burn the place to the ground and put a bullet in my head. You can't just walk out of here. This people will be coming. Lex is then getting up here saying, "Look, people are going to be coming for a presidential candidate here." Okay, no matter what, you lose in this situation, which is that twisted, brilliant Lex Luthor logic here, where he says, if you took this to court, you would have won, but you would have been bled dry financially. And again,
that is some really good twisted Lex Luthor logic right there. Yeah,
and I would have been finished with this place by then. So Lex would have won no matter what here. I'm done with this place like I am now. Bigger fish to fry, which I speculate is the beginnings of Superman. We're never going to see this, mind you. But
sure. I would hope not, Dragon. I would, it's like bringing Lex Luthor into it. It's fine. Bringing Superman into the Nolan universe, no thank you.
I think the logic with Nolan even attempting something like this would be, I think the furthest he could possibly go is the very end of your introduction of Lex Luthor would be something's going on in Metropolis that's drawing him back.
Sure, yeah.
Which is my implication as to what he means by bigger fish to fry, but we don't know. It could have just been a business thing, who knows? Could be Superman, could be business, I don't know. Anyway, so he then coins the line, coins the line from from the first season.
Bookends.
He coins the line that Dr. Arkham said to the Joker when he signed the documents: is, "None of this will hold up in court."
Mm-hmm.
So he spins the coin. Now, of course, with Nolan, every time we see something spinning, we're thinking Inception.
Yes, of course.
Not literally expecting Inception, but I'm just saying,
we're just thinking like, oh boy, ambiguity time.
Yep. Two-Face did spin that coin in.
Which, I mean, I guess given my reaction to what happens next is actually pretty accurate.
Okay, so I don't expect you to walk out of here. I expect you to run. That's why, and then it goes into that's why I brought my attorney. So then we reveal, the guy who was having the bag removed from his head at the end of the found footage last episode see a gun drawn, lands bad side on a scarred coin, and in the reflection we rack focus from the disfigured Lisa Arkham to the disfigured Harvey Dent. Lex turns around, bam, blood spatter on Miss Arkham's picture and covering the Two-Face reflection. Oh my God, Two-Face is in fact alive. At least between now and between then, he is alive.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, again, I'm skeptical about that. We'll see where it goes. Let me just say, Nolan would have never done that.
No, he wouldn't have. I think you're right.
I'll say that much. And to me, a big part of the enjoyment of the series comes down to the fact that it does feel like stuff that Nolan would do. So we'll see. I mean, obviously, we'll see how. We'll see how they explain this.
All I'm gonna say is this.
Okay.
While Nolan, in all likelihood, never would have brought Harvey Dent back.
But then again, I'm kind of the opinion that he shouldn't have killed Harvey Dent to begin with.
But that brings me to my point, is the fact that whether or not Nolan would have brought him back, whether or not, the matters it still stands the fact that for years in between movies, which is where we're kind of getting inspiration for a lot of this stuff here, for the stuff that Nolan could have done, everyone was wondering, is there a chance we bring Harvey Dent back?
Right.
Is there a chance that we do it? And because
I'm not going to lie, I never really thought it was a possibility just because I knew Nolan.
That's what I'm saying. If you know Nolan, I'm just saying the broad consensus of a lot of people thought Nolan might do a Lazarus Pit. He did a symbolic Lazarus Pit. So, I mean, it was on the table. I'm not saying we're going to actually bring Harvey Dent back with a Lazarus Pit. I'm just saying the fact of broader things were accomplished through Nolan through unconventional ways. And a lie would have still held true even if he was we faked the death versus actually killing him, but then we faked the circumstance of the death. The lie, I don't know. Anyway, that's the stuff we'll get into a little later, but just something to bear in mind.
All right, so I guess just final thoughts, Dragon. I mean, again, like I said, it's just last episode is just kind of like a hard act to follow. And the fact that last episode was an expertly crafted found footage narrative, whereas this is just, a really well shot, don't get me wrong, but it's more traditional. And in spite of some big revelations taking place, it still feels like a little bit more of a chess piece episode. It's still a good episode with good performances and everything. I just think out of the season 2 episodes so far, I think this one might be the one that I'm kind of the least engaged with, but it was still engaging, and I'm still along for the ride. So, that's not a slight on it or anything.
Yeah, I mean, look, man, I really dig this episode. This episode was really kind of the big gasp episode for all these reveals that we get in here. Again,
I honestly think it would probably play better for me if I was watching it month to month, in the moment.
I mean, still though, we have been doing these in kind of gaps though. So I mean, you kind of got a snippet of that.
No, I realize that, but Dragon, I'm kind of missing the community element of it though. That's what I'm saying.
That is okay. You're right about that. Yeah. Unfortunately, there's no way I can put the genie back.
Right.
Well, at least not without several hundred accounts. But that's
oh, God.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't have time for that anymore. Anyway, the fact of the matter is, this episode I think has a lot going for it. I mean, when I revisiting it, I still found a lot to love about it. Again, we're gonna definitely. This is the beginnings of certain reveals, and we're I don't know how much of it was nostalgia versus how much of it is just we do have really good dialogue between those two. There's intensity there. We're having great set pieces. And I mean, you're right. We are moving. This episode is primarily a moving the chess pieces episode. Yes. I'm not going to lie. Yes, there's a lot of that component there, but it's a lot of fun. And the intrigue is at a boiling point,
For sure.
It's getting to that point. What the heck is going to happen next? All right.
Well, folks, we've waxed on long enough. What?
We're not waxing on.
I'm literally looking at the.
Think about it, Tiki. Which one are you looking at?
I'm not looking at the right one.
No.
I'm sorry.
Don't read the
Okay.
teleprompter.
Oh my God, I have way too many. You know what the culprit is? It's just the fact that when I went on my trip, I got like a shit ton of Disneyland notification emails. So it's like this Joker's is freaking like buried. Anyways, I'm sorry about that. Sorry about that. Okay, I'm sorry. Oh my God. Well, our time's up, and it's wait, no.
Oh, you had it. Ugh,
Yeah, you're right. You're right. We did.
God.
I'm so sorry.
Just read the thing.
Well, folks, our time's up, and it's time to reseal the further evidence until our next session when we attempt to answer the question: is there a method to the madness with the Joker Blogs case study?
You can never bring too much ice to a party.
Paint me, Jack. Paint me like one of your French girls.